Good evening, everyone, and welcome to week 6 in CE 155, Facility Layout and Design. Congratulations, everybody, on making it to the big week. That's awesome. What a fantastic milestone to reach, getting to the end of the course. Chef Suzanne and I are awfully proud of the performance of this class. A lot of you have done excellent work so far, and that is so exciting for us to see as instructors. For us, when we see everybody's wheels starting to click and see people beginning to institute some of the things that we talk about and practice some of the things that we talk about, it is a real big thing for us, because that's why we do it, is because we really are here to see you guys succeed. And we feel as though, you know, this class has really succeeded. So congratulations, everybody. Welcome to week 6. It's kind of our swan song, so to speak, tonight. And it is a pleasant reminder to all of you, should you have questions following this course, Chef Suzanne and I are still around, and we're still here for you to bounce ideas off, or let us know about your successes, and let us know what's going on. So just because tonight is the end of our 6-week period does not mean that it is the end of our relationships. We will still be here in a professional capacity to help you guys out should you have any questions. So take advantage of it. And as a friendly reminder, I'll probably mention this more than once this evening, all assignments, including makeup assignments this week, are due no later than Sunday, February the 17th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time this week. That is, all assignments, including makeup assignments, must be turned in no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time this Sunday, February the 17th. Any questions about that? We cannot accept late work because of the fact the block is wrapping up, and we have to get ready to get into the next block. So we appreciate everybody's cooperation with that. Thank you very much. And week 5. How'd it go for everybody? I want to hear some feedback. Who wants to share about week 5? So, somebody, Robert, what'd you think about week 5?
Week 5 was a cakewalk.
Okay. Why was it a cakewalk?
I turned it in, I think it was on Wednesday, and got my feedback on Wednesday, and pretty much aced it on the first try.
That's because we have a very efficient evaluator in this class. Yeah. That's awesome. So you found it easy then.
Well, I made it as easy as possible for what my 2 cooks would do for those 2 menu items, and did not have, but I think, 1 crossover. But it was necessary. But I also had where they started in the walk-in. But I explained in the comments that the walk-in would be eliminated during the rush. And then after the rush, when you restock, then the walk-in comes back into play.
Theoretically, yes.
Right.
There's always that one cook that likes to work out of the walk-in, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know.
The one guy running back and forth all night long because he didn't do a good job setting up. Yeah,
I ended up firing one because of that.
Thank you, Robert, for your comments. Who else wants to share? I want to hear some more feedback about week 5. What about you up there, Ivory? Ivory Phillips, what do you think about week 5, buddy? Ivory, you're... Ivory, you're breaking up, buddy. Ivory, you're breaking up pretty bad. I can't hear you too well. So we'll get back to you, and we'll try that again. Who else wants to share about week 5? Somebody else. Valerie, what'd you think? Valerie? Valerie? There you are.
I just got here, so I didn't hear the question.
Oh, how'd you like week 5?
Oh, I loved it. I liked it. I liked trying to figure out the most efficient way to move my crew around without the constant bumping into each other. And Chef Lasagna graded it, and she thought it was pretty good. So
Hey.
I guess I did a good job. So thanks, Chef.
Hey, that's awesome. Well, good job. Maybe sometimes I wish we could give this assignment to some of our city planners, and maybe they could do it, and it might help them out a little bit. But I think, does anybody else want to share about week 5? Anybody else? No? Well, I think week 5 is a really good exercise because it forces you to think beyond the facility and it puts it into an operational perspective in your mind about how things are actually going to work out, moving people around, doing that type of thing. And it's another stretch of the mind to get you to understand. Chef Suzanne, what did you think about week 5?
I was actually pleasantly surprised with week 5. I thought in general everyone did a really good job. There was some issues I saw, kind of repeatedly, but not in a bad way. Hopefully everyone got a chance to see this. I'm actually going to share my screen real fast, Chef.
Go for it.
I made this little document here that had an example on it. So hopefully everyone looked at this and kind of looked at it and went, yeah, those look good. But then in the second picture down lower, I actually kind of drew out the workflow, and the bacon cheeseburgers got a nice flow. But if you look at the steak Oscar there, it was kind of all over the place. That poor cook was running laps through the kitchen.
Yeah.
And essentially that's what we're, trying to impress upon everybody is how important it is that your equipment be in the right place. Just because it's in the kitchen doesn't necessarily mean you have it in the right place. So some of the things that I saw were if your equipment was kind of all around the outside and your middle of your kitchen was like a big empty dance floor, that is not a very efficient setup, right? There should be something there. Also, students that may have been missing a pass-through window. So once stuff comes out of the deep fryer, it's got to go somewhere first, right? It's going to come out of your cheese sticks, are going to come out of the deep fryer, and then they're going to need to be put into a basket. So where will they be put into that basket with the sauce? Then where will that basket go to be picked up by the server? So if you're missing some of those steps, it's an easy fix to just move some things around. And now is the time to figure out where those things need to go in class versus when you're ready and you've got your business up and ready, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm missing refrigeration, I'm missing a pass-through area. So this is when you kind of get the wheels clicking and think of all the different steps that you're going to have your staff making, and you want them to be as efficient as possible. But in general, I really think this group really knocked it out of the park. So saw really good assignments. And like Robert said, if things were set up in the right place last week, this week was a piece of cake. But it may have been a little extra step for some that may have gone, oh, wait a minute, I see where I'm going to have my cook running all over. Maybe I need to move a cooler over there and put my grill down here. And so I did see some people that definitely switched it up from the week 4 because they saw the issues in the workflow. So I think they rocked it. And I'm almost done. I've only got a handful left to grade, so almost everybody's is done.
Awesome. Great job, everybody. And I know that I'm sure there's a few of you in this class that are thinking to themselves, well, I'm never going to open a restaurant, so I really don't need this information. Trust me, you're going to need this information at some point in time in your career. You will either be in charge of designing your own workspace, assisting someone else laying out their workspace, or running your own kitchen and laying out this workspace. So this class is very applicable, and the information that you are learning you will use. So please make sure that you focus on that. So thank you very much for your comments, Chef Suzanne. Those made a lot of sense. I noticed, I remember I mentioned at the beginning of the class, all assignments, including makeup assignments this week, will be due no later than Sunday, February the 17th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you have all your work in. If anybody's taking a look at our class page, at the very top of our class page, up above week 1 is our end of course survey. Please take it, fill it out. It's worth an extra 5% on your grade. It's a nice little bonus for helping you raise it up a little bit. So some of you that are at 98, 99, that'll pump you up to that 100 mark, and that's what we want to see. So Make sure everybody takes a moment to fill out the end of course survey. It is much appreciated. All of us at Escoffier take those comments very seriously, and that's what helps us to continually improve this program. So thank you very much in advance for your feedback. We hope to get plenty of it. So week number 6 in CE 155. Let's take a look at our class page this week to make sure that we're all coordinated. Week 6, I know I've mentioned this twice already, but there doesn't hurt to do a third time. All assignments are due this week, Sunday, February the 17th, no later than 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. No research materials. You are to refer back to your prior week of research materials that will provide you with all the information that you need to know to get through this week, and including the stuff that we're going to talk about this evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to attend this live session. Ask a lot of questions tonight. This is our final live session, so get it from us now. And then this week for our assignment, we are putting it all together, and basically we are drawing conclusions to our assignment, and we're going to talk about some of the what ifs and hows of how this whole thing works. Everybody remembers week 1, right? We worked on the equipment list and the station setup. So we extracted some items from the menus that we did in CE 185, and we decided what equipment we were going to use, what stations they were going to come off of. So how has everybody's learning been since that first exercise? Does anybody want to share? How about Dan Peck? I haven't picked on you yet tonight.
No, that's because I was a little late. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
You know, through this whole process, I've always talked about doing, you know, a small place. And I, understanding that I could have moved walls in the layout plans, I could have rearranged things to coincide with that small place. I decided to use what I had to maybe dream a little, I guess, or be a little grandiose about what could be down the road.
Right.
You know, until you started laying dollar figures on things like hoods and equipment contracts and simple square footage on how to put a place together, it looked great. It felt good to be able to put all this down in front of me. I mean, I've taken a lot of steps with graph paper even to draw this down, so it's in a file. I know that I can always go back to it no matter when it is. So since day one, this block, I'm excited, but I'm a little nervous. I'm starting to consider capital and where that may need to come from. That's, I think, really that's the biggest deal is being able to go step one to getting equipment and realizing just how much equipment I need to get. I already have a 20-quart stand mixer in my garage that I picked up from a place a few years ago. So I got my bread going. But beyond that, you know, there's a lot involved. So I'm now I need to start making lists. You know, we did that on paper and we did that on the computer, but I really need to lay it down on paper, do the research, find it. If I can find it secondhand and still in great shape, that's probably the way to go. I'd really, you know, knock on wood, like to find a place that's already equipped and ready to roll and do a lease like we were discussing, I think, for week 3.
Well, it's our hope and our anticipation that we certainly don't rain on your dream, but we want to add some reality to the dream along the way, and that's kind of the hard part. I think sometimes there's a lot of houses out there that I want to buy, but once I put a pen and paper to it, it's not going to happen. So you know, getting a realistic perspective of what's going on before you actually take those first steps really is good preventive medicine, and really it'll help you reach your end goal in a much better capacity, much healthier. Capital, remember, capital comes in a lot of different sources. You know, most people think about going to a bank and taking a loan. There's a lot of other creative ways to finance a restaurant that are oftentimes more applicable. One of my restaurants, instead of just borrowing money straight out, I gave some equity within the business as a portion of that money. And I think it was it was a pretty expensive restaurant to put together. One guy was willing to invest $50,000 into it, and instead of paying him back the $50,000, I just gave him $25,000 worth of equity and then paid back $25,000. So there's a lot of different options you can do besides just the straight up loan. So if you ever need help with that, I'll be glad to talk to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Thank
got
you.
it.
And then week 2, everybody, we started talking about location, and we got into target markets. We got into demographics. Does everybody remember that? And how important that information was. I'm sure Chef Suzanne had some nice comments regarding your particular location as far as what's going on in the area. Hey, is it going to be quiet there in the weekends? Hey, what about the traffic that's going on, right? Is your concept going to be able to reach its target market in that neighborhood? Who remembers week 2? Does anybody want to share about week 2? Yeah, how about Bill? What's going on, Bill?
Yeah, that's where we had to have, where I came up with taking a supermarket and retrofitting it and renovating it and making it
1,000 square foot barbecue supermarket.
exactly right. Yeah, that was a fun week.
How was your opinion of? I know that was your initial concept. We've gone through 3 additional weeks after that of learning additional information about pursuing a concept. Has that changed your thought process at all?
No, actually it hasn't. I mean, it's actually broadened it because, you made it, I was just thinking 14,000, that's not all that big, but now that you mention it and we've got into it, I mean, there's so much more I could do with the, the other space. I could lease it out to help, against the actual, the overhead. I could mobile smokers and start up catering. There's just so many different things. Have a store inside there that sells the T-shirts, the hats, the barbecue sauce.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that you're thinking that way, because that was the purpose behind that exercise was, so many of us, that is the ideal building. I found one of my restaurants, I thought it was the ideal location because it was located next to the Bank One ballpark where the Arizona Diamondbacks were building their stadium. And I didn't do enough research, or I didn't put enough thought process into the area. And that restaurant only was around for a couple of years because of the intense competition that opened up around that area. Should I have taken this class before, I probably wouldn't have opened it there. But in hindsight, one of the great things about being a great chef is I can tell you exactly what not to do. I can't always tell you what to do, but I can tell you what not to do. Because isn't that right, Chef Suzanne?
Yes.
We are filled with mistakes.
I feel like I still learn so much in all of these classes, even as an instructor. It's, seeing the creativity and the thought process, kind of like Bill was just talking about. Like, I may have seen that same building and may not have thought in the same direction that Bill thought with what he could do with some of that additional space. So I think part of what's great about these classes, and this class in particular, is you may hear an idea and go, that's what I should do. And I really think that's part of the fun of the live sessions is almost the thought process and the bouncing off of ideas.
Yep. Absolutely. Because a lot of it is mainly theoretical based on, real life experience and research, but it still makes it theoretical in a sense because there is no black and white direction to do this. Sonia, what's going on?
Nothing much. Hello, chefs.
Hi.
I'm going to comment on week 2. That's actually when I changed my concept with the information that I had received from the class. I thought I wanted one thing, and I changed it to an event hall.
Oh, wow.
I think that would suit me better I was thinking of a bed and breakfast, but then that was more constant. after the class, it was like going to be ongoing 24/7, and that's not what I wanted. So I think I switched it to an event hall. I think that's better for what I'm looking to do. Plus, I want to build it where I can live on the premises. So the building, I've always liked old buildings. So I would like to renovate an old building, old bank or fire station or something like that. But
cool idea.
Maybe I go out in the country. I mean, I don't know as far as that goes, because that's going to take a little bit more research. And I live in Dallas now, and I don't want it in Dallas. So that's another thing.
I understand that all the way. I understand. Down in Mexico, where we stay quite a bit, it's very common that people open up restaurants in their homes, and they're multi-layer level homes, and a lot of times they will open up their restaurants on the first level of their home and live up above the restaurant. And it's a dream of mine to be able to do that, because talk about writing off your living expenses. That's all included in everything. So thank you for those comments, Sonia. That's awesome. Letitia, what's going on? Hi.
Hear me?
What's that? Start again.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so how's everybody?
Awesome.
So, in terms of what you just said a while ago, like I actually need to speak to you. I talked to a guy today that's selling a restaurant. It's like a little small mobile restaurant. He was doing like barbecue stuff out of it, but it's set up to really do anything. It has deep fryers, steam tables, a grill, stuff like that. So my concept is actually more of a healthy option, but I'm willing to be versatile. So it doesn't matter. But in terms of financing, I needed to speak to you to get some ideas as far as how to approach that. He's only asking $36,000 for it, and it's set up and ready to go. And it's actually it's almost like a shed. Like it's like a little bigger than a shed, but it's put together as a restaurant, so it's able to be moved from different locations and stuff like that. So if you have the time, I have to meet with him Sunday. So whenever you have the time, and we can maybe sit down and talk.
Sure, send me a message, and I'll be glad. Tomorrow I have some free time, and I'll be glad to share some information. But the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that you have to have a solid business plan, because that solid business plan is your sales tool to money people. Money people do not care about how well you can cook. They don't care what you're going to do with that thing. All they care about is how you're going to pay them back and how much they're going to get for giving you the money. So it's a sales tool, is that business plan at the end of the day. You know, and I know that you're a great culinarian. You know, and I know that you can make this thing work. But the money people need to see the numbers, and that's where it's all going to come down to.
Absolutely.
So yeah, send me a message. I'll be glad to talk with you.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then on week 3, we moved in to kind of one of my favorite parts of a restaurant. I love the front of the house. I've worked and I've run a lot of front of the houses as an F&B director, and I enjoy it. So in week 3, we designed our front of the house. Who got into designing the front of the house? Who enjoyed that? Yeah. Elaine, what'd you think? Give us some feedback.
Actually, I thought it was a lot of fun because I didn't really stop to think about what I wanted to put in my tea house. I thought, okay, let's just do a tea house and a bakery. Well, once I started looking at all the pictures and things that were there, I was like, wow. It was like the light came on, and I'm still dreaming of what I could do to make it big. And in fact, this week with that, one of the questions was what I could do to save, it was how to save manpower and stuff. I was thinking the gardens. I could use the gardens out there and shut off the kitchen. And, that really got me thinking there's a lot I could do to make the front of the house look really special. That would say it's me and my tea house. And that's what I loved about it.
Well, cool. I like your comments. I thought those are really nice. You know, and you mentioned something really interesting. You said that you took look at a lot of pictures. And I think one of the keys to success, especially in this stage of development of a restaurant, is exposure to additional concepts. The more stuff you can look at, the more ideas you're going to get, and the better you're going to be able to develop what you want based on what you've seen. Does that make sense? So,
thank you.
Great comments. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And then in week 4, we worked on our back of the house design, the heart of the house, as they say, which is a very, very critical part of the restaurant operation, something I really get into as well. Who wants to share about what they thought about week 4? Who thought? Sandra, you're hiding down there. Sandra, what did you think about week 4?
It was interesting. I was going through and putting things where I was like, okay, where's this what I need? And then I probably redone mine 3 or 4 times thinking, wait a minute, I need this and I need this. And then the feedback that I got from Suzanne made me go back and redo it again. Because I was like, it's like a light come on. And I went and redone my front of the house too. Because I was like, wait a minute, I need this and this. And yeah, it's a process. I even went back and changed some of my menu items. And it's crazy. It makes you think more than you think.
Yeah.
My brain's going, I don't know if I can take much more.
So you mentioned a couple of things that I thought were really interesting. And one was that it is a process, and absolutely it is a process. I don't know of anybody that's ever, Chef Suzanne might, but I don't know of anybody that's ever put this their idea down onto a piece of paper and looked at it and said, voila, it's wonderful. And you also said that you had to go back and do it over a couple of times and with attention to detail issues. Critical. Attention to detail at this stage of your development. Should you make a mistake at this stage, it could end up being extremely costly and utilize all of your capital funds that you have to operate your restaurant. And then something else that I thought a couple of you have said so far is the feedback from Chef Suzanne, which is critical, but that's the value of sharing your ideas with others and the value of bouncing your ideas off of somebody else. Do not assume what you think, what you've thought, and what you want to do is the way it should be, because generally in life, it is not. And the more feedback, the more exposure you get, the better off you're going to be. So continue getting out there, talking to people, exposing your idea to others, and then getting exposure to others' ideas is a big key to success at this stage. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Did I miss anything on those first 4 weeks, Chef Suzanne?
Well, I will jump back to week 3. Week 3 is my favorite week because I love the mood boards. I love to kind of peek inside what everyone's been thinking. That this may be the first time they've ever done a layout for their front of house. They may have had the vision in their mind, but to actually put it down and then in that mood board put down, to actually sit and look at different tables and chairs or light fixtures or paint colors for the side of a food truck. I think that's when it starts to really come together. And as far as week 4 is concerned, this is probably the hardest week for some folks that have never worked in a restaurant before. It can be very, very intimidating because you don't have that experience in the back of house. So it's kind of learning as you go. And so this is your first step. And this is when you want to make, the mistakes and find some of the issues, like Sandra was saying, go like, oops, maybe need some of this extra equipment. And that's where having another set of eyes comes in handy. I also highly encourage everyone, when it comes to layouts, look online. There are tons of images of layouts to kind of give you an idea of what a lot of different kitchens are set up like. And, there are so many different ways to do it, but there are certain things that are always the same. Typically all your hot equipment is together. Typically all of your prep is together, and there's not a whole lot of traveling. And that's where week 5 comes into play, when you actually start looking at all of the traveling that your staff is going to have to do. So that's my 2 cents, Chef.
Yeah, I love it. That's some great advice. And What I really like, and I was thinking about Matisha and what she was talking about here just a moment ago, because if you apply everything that we've just said over the past half hour or so, she looks like she found a great bargain on a kind of cool concept, and she has an idea. But I'd be really interested to see what it ends up becoming at the end, based on everything that we just talked about. Because I'm sure, Matisha, you're going to be bouncing this idea off a couple of people, and a couple of people are going to come back and say, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that, or try this, try that. And then as this idea evolves, that's what leads to success. And the biggest mistake that a lot of us make in this industry is we get a little bit hard-headed and a little bit egotistical, and we close other people's ideas out. Take them into consideration. Utilize them, see what fits, what works. A lot of people have a lot of experience and they're willing to share it. You just have to be willing to accept it. And that is a safeguard for all of you out there. And
I'm always open to constructive criticism.
Yeah. You really have to be in order to become successful. I'm going to refer back to Dan. Dan has been talking over the past couple of weeks and in prior classes as well. And it sounds like he's got a pretty solid idea of what he wants to do, but he also sounds as though he's really open to letting that idea evolve based on feedback, which gives me the sense that it's going to become successful, because he's going to stick to that idea, but he's going to use other people's help and ideas to bring that idea to fruition in a fashion that's going to succeed. So that's what it takes to succeed in this industry. My first restaurant, I wanted to do it my way. Who sings that, Chef? Is that Frank Sinatra? My Way?
I believe so, yes. My Way, yeah. Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. And My Way, and although that was a very successful restaurant, and I owned it for quite a few years and did very well off of it in the end, it was a real struggle trying to do it my way until the customers told me they wanted it done their way. And I learned. And fortunately, I did. Week 5, we moved on to operational flow, right? Who wants to share about operational flow? I know we talked about that at the beginning of the class a little bit. Did anybody find that particularly interesting or challenging for any reason? Does anybody want to share about that? Anyone? Anybody? Bueller? Ferris Bueller? Bueller? No, that was, I think that's probably one of the most critical exercises in this class that people don't take as serious as they should. That is the one exercise that's going to tell you what you've done wrong as far as your layout is designed. It's going to tell you what you can do better and how you can make your layout much more efficient before you spend the money on doing it that way. So week 5, I think, is critical.
I think, hey, Chef, that I always kind of think of week 5. I don't know about everybody else, but I have a very small living room. I have rearranged my living room 50 times since we lived here because it doesn't always work. I think I got it right, and then I noticed that I get a stiff neck from one angle of the sectional watching TV. So it's really kind of the same idea. We rearrange our bedrooms, our kitchen counters, the cabinets where we store things. It's like that on a very much more grand scale.
Yeah.
That sometimes the first place you put something is not the most efficient, and that is even more, like Dan was just talking about the expense of openings. You're putting in all of this money into your business. You want to make sure that you have done your due diligence to get things where it needs to be the most efficient.
Yes, I'm such a firm believer in what you just said. Every kitchen I've run over, every kitchen that I've been in charge of over the last 37 years, I have rearranged multiple times until I finally found it comfortable. And as menus changed, I rearranged things, got rid of things, bought things. It's a constant evolution in the kitchen environment that has to be well thought out. Due diligence is the word of success. So definitely think it through before you make that initial investment. Moving on to this week's assignment. Week 6 assignment, our final swan song, right? the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be doing a little bit of writing this week. We would appreciate that everything be written in a professional fashion, using proper words, using proper spelling, using proper grammar, right? And write as though you are selling us the restaurant, right? We want to see professionalism come through in your written communication because it is a vital skill that is required in industry. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to name 3 things that you can do to make your business flow more efficiently, right? This can be a multitude of things that Chef Suzanne was just talking about. This would come to buying different pieces of equipment, moving equipment around. It could be to rearranging things. Maybe your walk-in's on the wrong side. Hey, maybe my hotline should be a little bit closer to the front door. Hey, maybe that dish area is not right. So we want to see 3 things that you can do to make your space more efficient, right? 3 things that you've learned in this class that you can do to make your space more efficient. Please make sure that you write in complete sentences. We don't want to hear things like paint wall black. Kind of leaves us out there, you know? So, you know, perhaps change the color of the interior walls to be more accommodating and appealing and complementary to our concept, right? Something that Chef Suzanne can understand when she reads. And then the next thing you're going to do is this is going to be a real thought process for you. Imagine if your sales were 50% of what you anticipated. Really, really important. For those of you that are working on business plans so far in this class, Bill has talked about it a little bit, Elaine's talked about it, Matisha just talked about it, Dan's talked about it, some others of you have talked about it as well. When you do a business plan, you want to do 3 sets of numbers. It has to be 3 sets. One is a worst case scenario, one is an expected case scenario, and one is a best case scenario. So you have your worst, expected, and best case scenarios, right, of your financial performances. So we want to hear how you would alter your facility should your sales be 50% of what you anticipated. Okay? What are you going to do, right? What changes are you going to make? Are you, for example, in your front of the house, could you close down one section of your dining room, have your tables be a little bit closer together so you only have to have 1 server out there instead of having 3 servers because of the size of your dining room? Would you consider rewriting your menu to reduce it in size so you can have less of a culinary staff? Would you switch to more grilled items so you wouldn't have to have a saute cook and that grill guy could also cover as your pantry guy? Right? What things are you going to do? Are you going to consider leasing out your kitchen space at nighttime? Right? That would be a viable thing to do. Are you going to consider looking at other sources of revenue, such as backdoor catering, Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates? Are you going to, what things would you do if your sales were 50% less? Are there any questions about that? Does anybody have any ideas off the top of your head what you're going to do if your sales are 50% less? Anybody? Arturo, what would you do? Hang on, there you go.
Got it. Definitely I go out and start, I learned this a long time ago from one of the friends. He used to go out and like, I love soccer, football, soccer. And he'll go out and kind of like have like a special discounts for the league. Said, hey, if you guys come and eat, I'll give you like 10% discount on the entire bill. Or, you know, go and, you know, create some kind of business. You just need to go out and create business. If you're 50% less, definitely you have to go out. I mean, you cannot wait for business to come in, you know, to you. You need to go out and sell your, you know, your business outside, not waiting for them to come. I mean, that will be my plan.
Yeah, I like it. I like the way you're thinking, and those are the ideas that we're looking for. We want to primarily find out what you're going to do to the facility and what changes you're going to make, but you know, we want to hear about those things as well. We don't want to hear about people that curl up. And then soccer fans. My wife is from Mexico, and then like last year during the World Cup, there's no sleep. There's not. It's just if the game's at 2 o'clock in the morning in Russia, then you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching the game, and it's a whole other story. I love soccer, so it's a good sport. 3. Imagine if your sales are double what you initially anticipated. What changes to your facility are you going to make? This is going to require some research on the internet to help you get a better understanding of what equipment options are available. For example, if your sales are 50% greater and you plan on having a convection oven and you're baking your own bread, is it smarter to go with a double stacked convection oven? Is it smarter to use an oven that can capacitate an entire speed rack at a single cook time, right? There's a lot of options out there to help you facilitate additional work. Would you switch from a single machine to a conveyor dish machine to help you wash more dishes, right? Would you expand the size of your dish pit? Would you double the size of your grill, right? Would you put a Rational oven on your line? A Rational oven is an oven that steams, convection, all that type of good stuff, all in one oven. You know, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle it? What are you going to do to the front of the house? Are you going to have a larger foyer so you can accommodate people that are waiting? Are you going to have a bar area that can serve appetizers to capture additional revenues while your guests are waiting? So those are some of the things that we want to hear from you as well for week 3. And then 4, what obstacle do you see in executing your current menu? This is something where you have to be really honest with yourself, right? Based on your layout, you know, can you execute your current menu? Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Are you going to get...
Just to kind of clarify that real quick, this question is not about changing your menu. This is not about, well, I wish I had put on mozzarella sticks. This is more about, like Chef just said, step back and do you have all the equipment you need in your kitchen to make this menu? So it's not about changing your menu or things that, you know, like wish I'd, you know, had pub chips and, you know, maybe a different appetizer. This isn't about the food. It's about making and producing the food in your layout. So basically everything we've done in this class. So all these questions are about this particular class. I know this one's, it's worded a little weird.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, you know, with this question, it's about taking an honest, all these questions are about taking an honest look at your business until you can sit down and say, honestly, I am capable, I can, I can't, what if you are not ready to open your business? Because no business opens as planned, right? No restaurant executes as expected. We have to prepare ourselves for all the things that we don't anticipate happening, right? 50% under in sales, 50% over in sales. I can't execute this item. You have to think these things through. Have you executed all of your recipes properly, right? And what about your operational procedures? Have you thought those through? When you did your operational flow, right? Are you just guessing and kind of stabbing at it? Or did you really get it? You know, that's the really hard part. Who had a question out there? Somebody just had their hand up. Who was that? No?
It wasn't a question, it was a statement.
Oh, what's that, Rebecca?
Well, I live next to the courthouse, and when we were talking about the 50% more, it made me think about those who are ordered community service.
Mm-hmm.
And I could probably utilize the ones who are into cooking in helping me with my food truck and being more productive with my items.
That's kind of cool. I like the way that you're thinking, because we always have to be looking for opportunities. I've talked about this before, and I'm not sure if it was this class or a different class, but you really have to have a SWOT team and at your organization, and SWOT being spelled SWOT, and that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And you know, when I say threats, I'm not concerned about, you know, terrorists running down the street and you know, throwing Molotov cocktails into the business. That's not what I mean by threats. Threats would be other businesses opening up, other businesses that are running special discounts, you know, so you can get a good grip on these things before they happen. Opportunities, you know, if you have multiple people in your business that are looking for other sources of revenues, other ways to develop, other ways to save money, other ways to save operational expenses if your sales drop by 50%, and then weaknesses. You know, what's not really good in our organization? Are our operational procedures not good? Are recipes not good? What do we need to fix? And then your strengths. So few restaurants out there don't step back and look and say, hey, we're really strong in this area, right? Our breads are number one. How can we capitalize on that? How can we make more money from doing that? So that's what we call a SWOT team. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What other kind of questions do we have out there? Anybody? Anywhere? No one? Let's take a look at our assignment page this week. Can everybody see that? Are we good? We in the right spot? Chef Suzanne? Yeah, we're there? All right, this is our week 6 assignment, and I've mentioned this a couple of times already. We want to have all assignments in, including this one, and makeup assignments no later than Sunday, February the 17th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. We cannot take late submissions. We apologize in advance, but we do have to get ourselves prepared for the next block, and Chef Suzanne's going to have her hands full with her other classes, so please make sure you get everything submitted early. This is not a major term paper. This is not a synopsis on the growing market of Martians. It is a simple paper on answering a couple of questions, and that's all it is. So we talked about naming 3 things to do, 3 things you can do to make your business flow more efficiently. What changes would you make, right? Are you going to move that equipment around? Are you going to make that space bigger? Are you going to relocate your walk-in? Is your dish pit in the right area? What about that server station? Imagine your sales are 50% of what were anticipated. What are you going to change? What are you going to do? How are you going to move things around? Imagine if your sales are double what you anticipated, right? What a great problem to have. You know, what are you going to expand? What equipment changes are you going to make? What changes are you going to make in the front of the house? Finally, what do you see as your biggest obstacle in executing your menu in your current design? Are your servers going to be able to get that food from the kitchen to the dining room tables while it's still hot, right? Are you going to be able to produce enough of those braised short ribs to keep up with your anticipated volume? That's what we want to understand and see. Please answer each question with at least 1 full sentence. It's very, very important. A couple of sentences would be great. No novels, please. That's a lot of writing. So 1 to 2 sentences is preferable. Do we have any questions, thoughts, concerns? Chef Suzanne, what did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. Again, with this assignment, you want to focus on this course. So when you're looking at what changes you would make for 50% more or double the business, focus on changes you would make as far as, like Chef said, maybe shutting down part of your dining room, or if you're going to be busy, or maybe buying another oven. And I know I just had a question in the box, so I'll just go ahead and answer that real quick. Everything has to be turned in by Sunday at midnight. So there are a handful of people that may get their assignment in soon enough to be able to resubmit it, but most people will not. There isn't a whole lot of, everything has to be in by Sunday. So once I grade it, there really isn't the option to resubmit for another week like you have for every other week. It's everything is due Sunday at 11:59 Central Time.
Right. So that's a great point. So don't submit at 11:50 Sunday night and expect the opportunity to revise, because there are no revisions after that time. Do we have any other questions? Ladies and gents, I think this has been a great class. Chef Suzanne and I are so excited. I want to answer Dan's question here real quick. Dan, what's going on, man?
Hang on. Okay, I got it, I think.
You're good.
Real quick, I know you were trying to wrap this up. Thank you so much for this last 6 weeks. I wanted to go back to when you were talking to Matisha about her plan. And you mentioning a solid business plan when you need to go out to the financing portion of things. Are the layout exercises that we're doing something that a financier would be looking at as part of a business plan?
110%.
Okay.
You want to have your business plan needs to have your concept, your bio, how, what, where, and when. Okay, it's that simple. You have to sell yourself, right? You can't say, you know, I'm Dan, I can cook, right? You know, that otherwise the guy's gonna be like, okay, but you know, hey, my name is Dan Peck, and I attended Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts, and I've done this, that, and the other thing. My interests in life are, and you know, I have some gorgeous small children. I've seen them a lot on Facebook, so I can say that. But you know, some nice young children, and I have a great family, all that kind of stuff. To sell yourself to this investor, to think, hey, you know, this is a guy that I want to invest in. And then your concept, right? That's going to be very, very important. You don't want to say that you're going to open up a restaurant, you know, that's surrounded by McDonald's, Burger King, and other like concepts selling hamburgers. You know, otherwise the financier is going to go, yeah, right. So those are some of the things, and your numbers is what it's all going to boil down to. All right. So, I mean, you need to be transparent. You cannot go to a bank or another institution or an individual investor and say, hey, you know, I need to borrow $250,000, and I plan on making a profit of $1.7 million per year. Number one, when they run their numbers, it's not going to match up. Number two, when it comes time to pay them their money, you're not going to be able to. Be honest and transparent.
Got it. Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Are there any other questions out there? Anybody? No? Well, I know I can speak on behalf of Chef Suzanne right now. This class has rocked the house. You guys have done a fantastic job. It has been a pleasure for us to work with all of you for the past 5 weeks now that we're in the 6th week. And make sure that you do keep in contact with us. Robert, what's your question? Robert?
It wasn't really a question. It was, I had Chef Suzanne once before for a 6-week class. I think it was the 2nd block. And she was quite hard as the evaluator. But I took everything from those 6 weeks and applied them to this 6 weeks because she was the evaluator again. So I was trying to better myself in my grades, and I think I did that based on the first time I had her as an evaluator.
She's the best. Yeah, she's the best.
I like to think I got really high standards, so I want you to be the best. So I got to make sure you're doing the best. I got to hold you to those high standards. I can't let you slack, Robert.
I know you had high
the best.
That's why I tried to make up for it this time when I had you.
Oh yeah, she's the glue that holds this thing together. Trust me. You know, thank God for a great evaluator, and she is definitely a great evaluator. So. I know everybody appreciates that. But once again, if anybody has any questions, you know, Chef Suzanne and I are still here at your disposal, at your service. So certainly reach out. Once again, Sunday, February the 17th, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. All assignments, including makeup work, must be turned in. Have a great night, everybody. Look forward to seeing you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you all so much.